Hello and welcome to Golf Digest Middle East final major championship preview of the 2013 season. I'm joined as always by Justin Parsons at the Butch Harmon School of Golf. Thanks for joining us, JP. And we're here to talk about the upcoming PGA Championship, US PGA Championship, which returns to Oak Hill after a 10-year absence. Now, Oak Hill, one of America's classic courses at par 70, 7,193 yards. We last saw it in major championships in 2003, where a very unheralded winner, Shaun McKeel, emerged to win at 4 under par, JP. Oak Hill this year, a very tough test for the players. Long rough. Phil Mickelson's described it as the longest he's ever seen at a US PGA Championship. It's going to be slick greens. What can we expect and what kind of champion do you think Oak Hill will produce?
Well, the guys have talked. Lee Westwood called it a very pleasant course during his practice. Maybe Lee didn't find that rough too often, and some of the guys have discussed the rough and said it's really high, it's really up there. So Oak Hill is a classic test. We're going to have to see a really good ball striker, somebody who's in control of his emotions, in control of his golf ball. And the final major of the year, quite often, as you say, allows some players, some more unheralded players, to come through. I do think there are some guys who suffer from fatigue at this time of the year, and it wouldn't be a surprise to see one of the regular PGA Tour players coming through to contend on Sunday. Okay,
well, it's been a very intriguing, a fascinating year in the majors so far. Perhaps not the plot lines that we expected at the start of the year, with Rory McIlroy as world #1 and Tiger Woods coming back into form. The latter has contended in the majors consistently without really producing the goods on the weekend, and Rory really hasn't suffered a miserable year by his standards. But we have seen a breakthrough for Adam Scott and Justin Rose, two incredibly talented 32-year-old players who've been touted as major champions for a long time, it has to be said. And Phil Mickelson, what can you say about that man? A 66 at Muirfield to win in classic fashion, and a tournament perhaps that Phil never thought he'd end up winning.
Well, I think we need to dwell on the great champions now who've won major championships this year. For Adam to come through and win was tremendous in the Masters, and for Justin to do the same in the US Open was equally significant. Phil, again, what can you say? He's putting the ball as well as he's ever done in his life, by his own admission. He and Butch worked really hard at Muirfield on keeping the golf club in front of him so he could get the most out of his short game and play offensively with his short game. So that was great to see him win, and I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys contend this week.
Okay, well, they're paired together for the first 2 rounds, which should be a fascinating marquee pairing there. But as always, and has so often become the case in the last year or so, all the attention before the start of the tournament is on Tiger Woods. He comes into the US PGA Championship off the back of another dominating performance at Firestone Country Club, where he won by 7 strokes, Justin. And we're seeing a pattern emerge, aren't we? Tiger continually gets himself into the mix at majors, and here's a stat for you. He's 8 under par for his opening 2 rounds at majors since the start of 2012. For the second 2 rounds, he's 25 over par, 32 strokes worse. So what do you see from Tiger? What's he doing wrong? Is he being too cautious? Is he being too conservative? Is he suddenly letting nerves get the better of him? Does he want it too much? What does he need to do differently, do you think?
Well, I think elite level players work very closely with their statistics, whether it's ball striking statistics or putting statistics. And the statistic that you just quoted is too significant for us to overlook. And I'm sure Tiger and his team are doing everything that they can to work out exactly what's going wrong. Is there some pressure? I'm sure there is. I'm sure the pressure is building on him major to major as he doesn't quite put them away. Does he have to change his game plan a little bit, become a little bit more aggressive on the weekend? Perhaps that might be the answer for him. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Tiger really going for something in the last 36 holes and trying to put this tournament away.
Yeah, he's won 5 tournaments this year, of course, 2 World Golf Championships at Doral, namely, and the Firestone Country Club, and also the Players' Championship at Sawgrass, which was a tough one for Tiger to win. Traditionally, he's struggled there, so he has had an absolutely brilliant year, but as he's often said throughout his career, it isn't a great year until you've won a major. And I was asked the other day, it's an interesting one, would Tiger swap his year for Phil's, who does have a major? What are your thoughts on that?
I think beneath some of the camaraderie and some of the veiled answers, I think the answer would be yes.
Wow, yeah, so it just goes to show what stock Tiger now places. For him, it's all about the majors and catching Jack Nicklaus's record haul of 18, getting himself off that figure of 14, which he's been stuck on for 5 years now. But we have to talk about Rory, because he is the defending champion this week. He hasn't had the year that we expected. Big equipment change and a lot of things going on in his life. Suddenly a much higher public profile. Obviously an unsettled management situation as well. You're very close with his coach, Michael Bannon. As we know with Rory, he's an enigmatic player. He can turn it around. He did so last year, but there aren't too many signs that indicate that this year is going to follow a similar pattern to last year, are there?
No, there aren't signs, and I've had a look at this very closely, and we've all thought about it. We all here, we care about Rory primarily as a friend of ours, and the schedule change that he made, the change of where he lives, the change of equipment, all of these things, possibly with some swing stuff that he went through early on in the year, kind of contributed to the year not being the way Rory wanted it to be. But he's recently gone home to Northern Ireland, played some golf with his buddies around about some of the courses that he would have played, growing up. So Rory will get back to his roots and he'll work it out. He's a very intelligent young man, and we know how talented he is. So at some point in time, he will turn this around. Is it going to be this week? I'm not so sure, but look out for next year.
Okay, well, aside from the familiar faces, there are, as usual in the majors, a raft of other contenders. And traditionally, I suppose, JP, the US PGA Championship has been a happy hunting ground for a very reliable PGA Tour player, the kind of guy that is familiar with the way American courses are set up, straight ball hitters, good putters, familiar with the greens out here. And, obviously in recent years, 2 Irishmen have staked their claim in Rory McIlroy and Padraig Harrington. But who do you like for this week, aside from the obvious favourites?
I saw Jason Day at the British Open, and he continued to impress. I spoke to some people about him, and he really is one of those players you're going to have to think will break through at a tournament. So why not make it the US PGA? And Henrik Stenson, he's been in a rich vein of form, playing really, really good for about 2.5 months now. Ball striking has been off the charts. So if Henrik gets a good week with his putter, one of Dubai's friends, Henrik Stenson, might bring it home. Indeed.
Well, I'm going to go for a player who won the Tour Championship last year, Brandt Snedeker, who's been knocking on the door in majors for a while now. A very good putter, very straight hitter, not the longest hitter in the world, but very straight and a fantastic putter. So I think Brandt might just break through this week. Another player in that mould, I suppose, would be Jason Duffner, who had a very strong finish at Firestone. But those would be our slightly outside picks. I know you can't really call Brandt Snedeker an outsider, but I'm going to do it anyway. Tiger Woods, a final word on Tiger. Is this going to be major number 15 for Tiger to finally end that 5-year drought?
I wouldn't be surprised.
You wouldn't be surprised. Okay, well, that's all from us for the US PGA Championship preview by Golf Digest Middle East. It's televised live on OSN Golf, so we hope you managed to catch some of that throughout what should be an extremely exciting week of golf.